Ribbon blackout. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Shade Tree Hot Rods, where we are tackling one of the bigger things with the 1UZ in the Ranger project, and that is the original sump is in the front, which is a problem because it's hitting our cross member and we aren't able to lower the engine like we would. All the mocking we've done has been just like this without the mid pan and the actual oil pan. So we got this custom piece from like Kazakhstan or something, and it looks kind of cool. I'm not gonna front. I'm not gonna sit here and say it looks horrible. I mean, you know, it's got welds. I'm not sure how good they are. To my untrained eye, they look all right. So one main difference with the oil pan that we have versus what we took off is, like I said, there's a mid pan that goes here. It's basically this. There's a piece that connects here, and then this bolts to the bottom of that, right? So we have kind of just omitted that. Should shrink the vertical profile of the engine in its entirety, but it is moving the sump rearward, which I don't even know if that's going to clear the cross member. It's kind of just a hope at this point, and I'm really hoping that that is the case. Getting the setup in the truck by yourself, engine and trans, is very doable. Just takes a little bit of maneuvering. So actually, I say it's easy. I've never done it with the oil pan, and it sticks out further than the bottom of the truck. This is just going to be a first trial. We'll see. I'm kind of dumb for trying to do this by myself, it turns out, because it is kind of tight. I got it. I got it. Don't worry, I got it. That was an absolute pain in the derriere. Caused a little bit more damage to my truck in the process, but that's okay because we're kind of thinking about cutting some of that out. So it's on the mounts that we already have. So what the plan is now is we're going to go down there, we're going to look at the oil pan now, and we're going to see, okay, how much room do we actually have? Can we change our motor mounts? Because if we can, that would be great, because that means we can have a better trans mount if it moves where we need it to. Hope you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. There's a good bit of vertical clearance on the driver's side. Oh yeah, we've got room there too. So that's exactly what we wanted. So that means that now the next step is going to be to cut off the old whack. And I mean, they're horrible, and I probably won't even show you guys in the daylight what those motor mounts that I made look like, because the weld looks like garbage. To remake them, I'm going to take some measurements, see how far I can drop it down. But I'm hoping, and I'm actually pretty confident that we can move the whole thing back, because we need just a little bit of space. If we can just get these studs to closer to here, that would be fantastic. So the next step is remake our motor mounts. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of set it back in here, get the oil pan back on it, and we're going to see how far back and down we can set it without having to make holes in the firewall. And our main goal really is to get it to where the transmission mounting plate that's on the transmission will sit onto the trans cross member that was stock in this truck, and hopefully level the engine after that. I don't know what it's going to take, but I know we're going to try. Obviously, the entire engine is this way, you know, toward the passenger side. So what we're going to do is we're just going to yank this motor mount off, because it is hitting this frame. Originally, you know, the engine was over there. But it was more, with it being higher, like with us trying to lower the engine, it has to come this way a little bit in order to clear the steering rack for the exhaust, for the manifold. So pretty much what's going to have to happen is we're going to take this off. And you know, honestly, I'm not opposed to doing this to both sides. Just taking the motor mounts off and kind of making our own. So we'll just see how that shapes up. Alright, took me a little lunch break, did some brainstorming. This is what I'm going to do. So I was going to make the motor mounts first and then make the trans mount. But I think if I make the trans mount first and can secure one point, I can use that as a like a point of reference basically for the motor mounts. The motor mounts, I'm pretty much gonna make a plate that covers this, because this is the passenger side motor mount. It goes on like this, right? So I'm just gonna make a plate that covers this and take a piece of square tubing, take a couple pieces maybe, and weld that to the frame. It's kind of what I'm picturing. I don't think it'll be a lot of material because it seems like it's really close to the frame, but it depends on where everything lines up. The trans mount, it's not gonna be the most secure thing in the world, but whenever we get, you know, when we find the transmission that we're gonna wanna use when we start putting actual power into this thing, we're gonna be moving the whole cross member forward on the frame. I just don't wanna do that a lot of times, so I'm just gonna make it work for now. Because in the state it's gonna be in, it's kinda just gonna be a burnout truck for a little bit, eventually a drag truck, and maybe he'll be both. Maybe he'll be everything, who knows? Okay, slight change. Gonna be using the square tubing because I need verticality, I need a spacer basically, in between the cross member and the trans mount, and I need as much as I can in order to keep the engine level, because the way I've got it measured right now, the engine's gonna have about 6 to 7 degrees of front to back angle, which may end up being too much, and if it is, maybe I'll put 2 more pieces of square tubing together. I don't know. Anyways, this is the length I need, so I'm gonna go and cut it off, and then we'll tack this together, take that plate down, you know, see how everything lines up, take that plate down, and weld it together. All right, so before I show it, right, I'm not a welder, right? It's fun, I have fun with it, but I'm not good at it in any sense of the word, okay? A grinder and paint makes you a welder, you ain't, yada, yada, yada. It's fine. It's gonna hold, okay? It's gonna at least hold for our purposes. Don't judge. If you want to judge, I'd rather you just leave some constructive criticism in the comments or something, okay? Make fun of me there. But do it not, you know, just don't. I bruise easy, okay? Anyways, this is what we got. So, I got 2 pieces of square stock that I cut off. This is the flat stock that we are using that was already bolted to our transmission mount. Now it needs a riser, and then put it, I don't know, okay? We're rolling with this as we go. All right guys, so this is kind of what I've come up with as far as a trans mount. Now, I didn't show a lot of the process because I'm about as green as it gets when it comes to fabricating, but it looks dodgy. That's because it is. We got 4 pieces of square tubing stacked 2 by 2, welded together, and then welded to the cross member here. This is the plate that we had already for the first iteration of the trans mount we were going to make, but it works out. When I tacked everything up and I tried it out, it fit great. So we're going to throw the bolts back in the cross member, and pretty much how it is now is you have to pretty much remove the cross member in order to get the trans out if you're going to pull engine and trans all in one. But I don't think that's that big of a deal because it is just a nut and a bolt on each side. So let's try to throw it in. Boom! Transmotion is in. And so one thing that we're having to look at is the drive shaft line, like where it's going to run, and also the pinion angle. This may be a bit of a problem right here, which you know, I'm sure we can cut it out and it'll be all right, or at least cut a notch in it. So it is obvious. So the way we're doing this, because of just clearance with the steering rack and everything's kind of going to be shifted toward the passenger side, which is also going to help offset the weight of the driver. So I mean, you can say that we did this in advance so that we could have better weight distribution, but that would be a lie. It's just how things worked out. Because the tail of the transmission is a fixed yoke and the differential is also a fixed yoke, it's a fixed yoke, so we have to have a drive shaft that's slip coupled in the middle, which means we'll have to take some stuff out. I think overall this is going to work out great. So the next step is to make the motor mounts.